To be sitting in front of the camera right now, let alone making a video to help other people learn, grow, and elevate themselves through entrepreneurship is honestly something I never thought I'd be doing looking back. A year and a half ago, running my own business wasn't even in my mind, but the last year has honestly taught me a lot. I've helped businesses go from unclear and under-recognized to helping build brands with a real identity and a presence. But it wasn't always like that. See, have you ever had a moment where the floor just disappeared from right under your feet? When the life that you thought you had suddenly changes. I went through a period like this just about 2 years ago. And in that moment, when the world felt like it stopped and I had to go figure out what was next for myself, one single truth hit me through that process, and it was a truth that hit me harder than anything else, but ultimately ended up being one of the most freeing things that I've learned. And it's that nobody is coming to save you. And I know that's not meant to sound inspiring, at least it wasn't to me when I first heard it, but it was the realization that you can be in a very dark place, and besides maybe your parents or your girlfriend, no one is waking up thinking about, how do we solve this person's problems? I realized in those difficult times that the world keeps spinning, even when you feel like yours has stopped. And that realization does something. Not only does it feel like a sting, but it changes you. It forces you to choose between fight or flight. And this story of how losing my foundation forced me to build my own. Growing up in Michigan, I was always the kid who shied away from talking in front of people. Literally, public speaking was probably my biggest fear. I was so afraid of what people might think or of messing up. Ask anybody I went to school with, I would do anything, like literally anything in my power to get out of classes just to avoid presenting in front of people. The idea of being watched was so terrifying. Ironic saying that now, because my comfort zone was my whole entire world. And I had no plans of wanting to leave it. But life has a funny way of pushing you out of that, whether you're ready for it or not. And when I was 17, a family situation completely altered the direction of my life. That feeling of stability and a household to always have beside you was gone for me. I had to move. And that sense of family and the people that I thought were so close to me weren't there. And I remember sitting on my cold, bare, empty floor of my childhood room when we were in the process of moving out, reflecting on all of my memories. And it hit me that that whole chapter of my life was closing. And it forced me to grow into an adult overnight. And from that moment forward, the idea of waiting for a perfect moment or somebody to do something for me was ridiculous. If I wanted a future I would be proud of and had control of, I had to be the one building it and not wait for it to happen for me. And in difficult times with many obstacles that you feel come after you, there are two options to think about. Either you let those challenges define you, or you take action and accountability of them. Because the hardest truth is that most people want to have control of every moment, and if I could do so, I would. It would make things a lot easier. But at the same time, just using that fuel on yourself and your close surroundings versus putting it into a million different things will slowly help you build out a roadmap, take things one day at a time, and improve your circumstances and situation. In the middle of all of that uncertainty that I was facing, I had a choice. I could either get lost in the feeling of being wrong and lonely, or I could experience it, almost cherish it in a way, and use it as a learning lesson in life to not let those moments slow me down, but rather use them as fuel to help me build myself to where I want to be. And yeah, I know that sounds a lot easier said than done, but I had to choose that difficult fight, which always starts with accepting circumstances. My life is my responsibility. I had to stop looking for something to blame and start looking for my own way through. A lot of the time what happens is we wait for our backs to get against the wall to make changes that's needed in our life. And that summer when I was 17, I did something that felt random to me at the time, but would ultimately lead me to where I am now with starting Gems. I remember I grabbed my camera and started filming TikTok videos for my dad's business for fun, and really just as a distraction at the time. But as I started looking through that lens, I felt something that clicked in my mind. I realized that I could learn the tool of communicating through storytelling, through framing a shot, through an edit, through making an audience feel something which was so powerful to me. And not long after, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months, I got a call from someone in my inner circle who had seen one of those videos and was interested in building their online presence as well using my help, which was just crazy for me to even think about. Yet that single call was the moment that I realized a talent that I had that could bring improvement towards myself and other people, which was something that I thought would be very useful. And that call didn't just bring in a customer, it was the first brick in the foundation I didn't even realize that I was building. And that made me realize something that I think a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs are struggling with today. So many of us, including myself when I was starting out, are looking for an answer, a gateway to start whatever it is that we're interested in. We work on something for months and months and months, something for so long to make sure that every detail is perfect before even putting it out there. And I realized that when I was starting, this was the exact opposite of the formula we should be using. The best thing that you can do for yourself is being authentic, speaking the truth to whatever audience that you're trying to reach, and just hitting that record button when the idea first comes to mind. Don't wait for any approval for the people around you. Don't wait for everything to feel aligned. Sometimes it just starts with picking up your phone and speaking your truth and seeing what lands and what doesn't, and just going through that trial and error, because if you don't try, you'll never know. And that was exactly all I really needed to start. The kid whose biggest fear was being called on is now putting himself out there with the purpose of helping others improving their personal and professional selves. It's really all about trial and error and being exposed to an environment. I became obsessed with social media marketing, not by taking a course or listening to a teacher talk, by spending my days using whatever I had around me, whether it's filming, posting, and testing, but ultimately just trying to understand the psychology of what makes somebody stop scrolling and want to listen to you. When I started social media marketing in the beginning, I really had no idea what I was doing or getting myself into. I started doing things that really scared me, like reaching out to local business owners just to try to have a conversation. And all of these conversations taught me one thing in that moment, that there was a gap in my community and the people that I was speaking to. I kept meeting owners, people who really knew their products, but were completely overwhelmed by the digital world. They had their foundation, but what I really productized myself on was that I understood the language of social media and of the social media that we use today. I could fill in that gap for them. And that was really the light bulb that sparked into my brain. What I learned and how I started to productize myself, being 18 and 19 is actually a luxury. And understanding trends, digital markets, and content that so many people that my age can relate on, I could help older business owners deal with the heavy lifting they didn't want to deal with. So identify what you think is really holding you back and reframe it as an advantage, something people would pay for. Be the bridge that people can rely on. I learned that my age, which I thought was a weakness, was actually a strength. Business owners saw the energy that I was putting in, but more importantly, they saw I genuinely wanted to help them succeed while also being vulnerable and willing to grow and learn from the opportunities that were given to me. That's what really brought me to create Gems Media. The idea of my company started to come together. It was organic and built off the experience and relationships I was forming in real time. And for a long time, it came with a lot of quiet self-doubt through the process of bringing it to life. But little moments of proof started happening. The vision that I had for myself of where I wanted to be started to come to life. I remember the first 5 clients that I had on retainers. It was something I didn't think that I was able to do, but did that in less than 6 months. And I remember in April of 2025 at 18, I had one of my biggest wins at the time, which was a $10,000 month, a number that was unfathomable for me at the time. I remember the day like yesterday, leaving the client's site where we had just finished up recording for the day and receiving that $3,000 check to complete the month. And that check was like the most money I had ever held in my hand, and it felt like one of the most beaming things that could ever be in front of me. I got into that car and looked at that moment as a huge sense of gratitude for the work and discipline that I had been putting in. And that win for me was the moment of validation. Not for the money, I could honestly care less, but for the person that I was becoming. It was one small moment that told me I might be doing something right, but I didn't figure all of this out on my own. I had an incredible group of people around me who helped me grow and build to where I am now and where I continue to aspire to see myself. And 2 pieces of advice really guided my mindset. My dad, who has been with me through everything and saw both my fears, my ambitions, told me something that still sticks with me. When I was hesitant to take on the path of marketing, business ownership, entrepreneurship, he told me that it's better to take the risk than to live your life wondering what you could have built. That gave me the very fuel to push myself and actually believe in myself, because the risk of losing is nothing compared to the risk of never trying. Later down the line, my first client and a mentor of mine who understood my circumstances and allowed me to test my skills and my abilities also told me something. He said, "You're not becoming a new person, Ethan. You're becoming the person you've always been." And that phrase is still engraved with me. It helped me realize that hardship doesn't create who you are, it reveals who you've always been. And sometimes it takes the truth of difficult circumstances to help you see the gem that's always been inside you the entire time. So I want you to start doing something today. Document your small wins. Create reminders for yourself to reference when things are being difficult. Like, did you sign a client? Use that as a frame of proof. Is there an obstacle that hit you today that feels like you can't get up from? Look at that journal. What did you remind yourself 2 weeks prior to where you want to see yourself? And use that as fuel to keep you going. Your documented wins and where you envision yourself is everything you need. When you feel like you're losing, open that journal and remind yourself who you are becoming. And all of this ultimately takes time. Not just the right surroundings, but by being content with yourself. Understanding that everything is a process and investing in yourself above anything else. And if this video resonates with you and you're on a mission to build something greater than yourself, subscribe to the channel or reach out to me via all of our platforms. Again, my journey was never about proving anybody wrong, but about proving myself right. Staying true to a vision and building something that I believe can help others. Gems is the core that symbolizes something rare and valuable that shines through no matter how deep it's buried. And that's really the essence of this brand. So just remember, you are your own turning point.